One of the darkest and most shocking wars in world history took place among humanity's closest relatives. The wildest war story of the wild nature occurred in a blood-curdling chimpanzee conflict deep in the African forests. This is a story beyond even the most terrifying war scenario you can imagine. A war occurred between two groups of chimpanzees that overshadowed even the bloodiest wars of human civilization. This civil war among the chimpanzees was almost like a hell for apes. Brutality, betrayal, blood, and revenge. The most shocking story of nature is now before you. Yes, friends, let's calm down a bit now. What I described is entirely an exaggerated fiction. But don't worry, the real story is much more exciting than this. According to Jane Goodall's observations, one of the most ruthless moments of the war was the killing of the young from the Kahama group. Members of the Kasekela group were kidnapping Kahama young and taking them to their own territory. There, they would mercilessly beat the young, even killing some of them. Goodall describes these events as follows. One day, I saw members of the Kasekela group abducting a young one from the Kahama group. They took the young one to their territory and began to beat it mercilessly. The young one was screaming for help, but no one came to rescue it. In the end, they killed the young one and dismembered its body. The seeds of a silent war were just beginning to be sown in the cool forests of Gombe. The tension between the chimpanzee groups that Jane Goodall had observed for years was now moving towards an uncontrollable point. The Kasekela group had established a strong and organized structure within itself. Their leader was supported by a coalition of young and aggressive male chimpanzees. The rival Kahama group, on the other hand, was gradually weakening and was fighting for survival. In early 1974, the first serious conflicts began. The Kasekela group started systematically targeting members of the Kahama group. Each attack was like a pre-planned and calculated move. The chimpanzees were acting with a strategy reminiscent of human warfare. The research that Watts and Mitani would conduct in the following years would prove that this behavior pattern was not coincidental. The chimpanzees were moving almost like an organized army, engaging in a relentless struggle for territorial dominance. Jane Goodall could not believe the violence she witnessed during this process. The chimpanzee groups, which she thought had lived in friendship and peace for years, were now trying to annihilate each other. Alongside her scientific observations, she was also experiencing an emotional breakdown. The Gombe War would shatter all known patterns about primate behavior and deeply shake the scientific world. This was not just a conflict between two chimpanzee groups, but a dark reflection of evolutionary processes. The true dimensions of the war were not yet understood. However, the determination and strategy of the Kasekela group meant a terrible end for the Kahama group. Thus, the Gombe War had begun. At the core of the tension between the chimpanzee groups in Gombe was the sharing of resources and territorial dominance. The Kasekela and Kahama groups had been living in the same area for a long time. However, as resources began to dwindle over time, competition increased. One of the most important reasons for the factionalism was leadership disputes. In the Kasekela group, there was a strong leadership coalition made up of young and aggressive males. This coalition opposed the leader of the Kahama group, an old and experienced male chimpanzee. One of the events that ignited the war was the Kasekela group abducting a female chimpanzee belonging to the Kahama group. This event further increased the tension between the two groups and fueled the desire for revenge. The first ambush was set by the Kasekela group against the Kahama group. Members of the Kasekela group hid in the forest, waiting for the Kahama group to pass by. When the Kahama group approached, the Kasekela group members suddenly emerged and attacked. The first death occurred with the death of Godin, a young member of the Kahama group. While trying to escape the attack from the Kasekela group, Godin fell from the top of a tree and broke his neck. Some sources indicate that Godin was killed by having his head crushed with a stone. Godin's death changed the course of the war. After this death, the Kahama group became even stronger and began to adopt a more aggressive stance against the Kasekela group. The war has become increasingly bloody and ruthless. The war in Gombe is no longer just a conflict between two groups, but has turned into a struggle for survival. The Kasekela group is determined to completely annihilate the Kahama group. They are displaying every kind of ruthlessness to achieve this goal. According to Jane Good's observations, one of the most ruthless moments of the war was the killing of the young belonging to the Kahama group. Members of the Kasekela group were kidnapping the Kahama young and taking them to their own territory. There, they would mercilessly beat the young, even killing some of them. Good describes these events as follows. One day, I saw members of the Kasekela group abduct a young one from the Kahama group. They took the young one to their own territory and began to beat it mercilessly. The young one was screaming for help, but no one came to rescue it. In the end, they killed the young one and dismembered the body. These events reveal how brutal and savage the war had become. The chimpanzees were displaying incredible cruelty towards their own kind. Goodall stated that the war in Gombe exposed a dark side of the chimpanzee's nature. No one would have guessed that chimpanzees could be so ruthless, she says. As the war progressed, the Kahama group gradually weakened. The Kasekela group, each attack left them a little more powerless. Eventually, the Kahama group completely disbanded, and some members were forced to flee to other areas. However, there was no winner of the war. The Kasekela group also suffered significant losses. Many members were injured or killed. The group could not recover from the effects of the war for a long time. As remarkable as the wars of the chimpanzees in Gombe are, their hunting behaviors towards other animals are also noteworthy. In particular, colobus monkeys have often been the target of chimpanzees. The research by Watts and Mitani in the 1980s provides significant insights into how chimpanzees hunt colobus monkeys. According to these studies, chimpanzees have developed a specific strategy to hunt colobus monkeys. Chimpanzees first identify the trees where colobus monkeys live. Then they begin to quietly move around these trees. Colobus monkeys usually live in tall trees and do not come down to the ground. Therefore, it is quite difficult for chimpanzees to catch them. However, chimpanzees do not give up. They wait patiently and try to catch the right moment of the colobus monkeys. Usually, female and young colobus monkeys are easier targets. Chimpanzees put in more effort to catch these monkeys. Sometimes chimpanzees cooperate to catch colobus monkeys. Several chimpanzees approach the tree from different directions at the same time and try to surprise the colobus monkeys. In this way, they block the escape routes of the colobus monkeys and increase their chances of catching them. Colobus monkeys have developed various tactics to escape the attacks of chimpanzees. For example, when they sense danger, they scream loudly to warn the others. Additionally, they climb to the outermost branches of the trees to hide in places where chimpanzees cannot reach. However, despite all these tactics, colobus monkeys sometimes cannot withstand the attacks of chimpanzees. Sometimes chimpanzees manage to catch a colobus monkey and kill it mercilessly. The research by Watts and Mitani shows that chimpanzees survive not only by fighting, but also by hunting. Colobus monkeys are an important food source for chimpanzees. By hunting these monkeys, chimpanzees both satisfy their hunger and maintain their strength. The life of chimpanzees in Gombe is not solely about wars. They are also intelligent and skilled hunters. The hunting strategies they developed against colobus monkeys show how adaptable and successful creatures they are. In today's episode, we closely examined the incredible battle and survival struggle of the chimpanzees in Gombe. Thanks to Jane Goodall's unique observations, we shed light on the complex social lives and behaviors of these extraordinary creatures. We have seen that chimpanzees are not just creatures acting on instinct. They also possess complex emotions, social relationships, and strategies. Just like us, they can love, feel sadness, fight, and struggle to survive. I hope this episode has provided you with new information about chimpanzees. On this journey into their world, we have once again seen how diverse and surprising nature is. If you liked our video, please don't forget to click the like button. By subscribing to our channel, you can stay informed about new episodes of Time Travel with Selman. You can also share your thoughts and questions with us in the comments section. Your participation will contribute to the further development of our channel. See you in our next video. Goodbye.